So if I click add, then it will add that video right there. And it even tells them how long the video is. And then click post. And there it is. And you can see it's, because it's the latest posting, it appears at the top of the stream. So here was my first posting at 10:14. Here's my next posting at 10:18.
Great, thanks.
And as you add things, it will continue to post. There are class settings for each class, so you can actually limit what kind of commenting your students can do. So once you're in a class, if you come up here to this gear, here's where you can change the class name. You are required to give a name to the class, but you can change the name of the class if you want. You can give the class a description. A description. You can change all of those. I'll show you how to add students to a class in just a minute. Here's where in the stream you can change that students can post and comment in the stream. If you want them to only be able to comment on things that you post, you would change it to students can only comment. Or you can take that feature away from them entirely where only you can post and comment. And again, you can change this at any time. It's not a one and done. So if you decide that you want to start off with only you can post and comment, then you would change that to only teachers. You have all the control over it. And then if you do decide that you want your students to comment, let's say you put that video up like I just did, and you want your students to give feedback on that. What did they think about that? What did they think about the form or the style or whatever? Then you would need to come back in here and change it to students can only comment. If you wanted them to go find something to post for each other to comment on, you'd have to go to students can post and comment.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
So I have set up classrooms and posted assignments, and this is the very first time using it. So as you're talking about that part of it, the commenting, so does the commenting come, like if it's open to students to comment, does it come through your email?
No, it'll all happen. I think you can set it so that you get notifications that people have commented on things, but it's all going to happen right here in the stream. So if I had you added on here, I could say, this is an awesome song. Thanks.
Because mostly at this point, I'm just getting emails. So I wonder, I'll have to go check that setting now.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting emails, not.
Well, are you getting emails with what the comment is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you come over, that may be in your general settings. So if you go out of that class, come over to these lines and then click on classes so you can see all of them.
Yeah.
If you come, sorry, it's in this menu, this little 3-bar menu over here. If you come over and click on settings, down here at the bottom, you can toggle your email notifications.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you don't want to be notified every time that there's a comment on one of your posts, you can toggle that off.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Likewise, if as we get deeper into this in other sessions, as we're doing graded work and whatever, you can decide how students communicate or how you're notified as to when work is submitted or not, which we're not going to get too deep into that today, because my goal today with this session is just to get people to be able to set up a class and know some of the basic functionality behind it.
If they send me an email and I want to answer, though, do I go to the classroom to answer it, or just answer it on my email and it'll go to the classroom?
You'll have, if you want it to appear in the classroom, you're going to have to use the classroom platform. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep. But if they email you so you're saying if you get an email that a comment was posted?
Right.
Yeah, it won't, if you reply to that, it won't, I've never seen it populate in classroom.
Okay, great.
So you'll notice that I put a comment on there So any of your students, since I have that option available here for students to be able to post and comment, then my students can add comments as they want. And it's very easy for you to get rid of comments, okay? All you do is click on these 3 little dots and you can delete it. You have total control over deleting comments or not from students. So if you happen to have, what's that now?
Where are the 3 little dots?
When you hover over the comment, those 3 little dots will appear. See how they disappear? And then when I come over here to the comment, they appear right there.
Okay.
Click on them, and then I can click delete.
Yeah.
And yes, I want to delete that comment, and it's gone.
Got it.
So I might suggest, to start off with, use this as a conduit for transmitting information to your students and not necessarily getting things back from them right now.
Yep.
That might be the safest way to go. And again, if you're in a class, come over here, scroll down, and then you can do only teachers can post and comment. And make sure you click save. It won't auto-save these features for you. And then that just might take a little bit of the stress out of you feeling like you have to moderate every classroom that you have all the time.
Where
But
you
if you're
clicked on the gear and just did that, sorry,
Yeah,
Jason.
that's okay. I'll do it one more
Do
time.
you
Yep.
do it- No,
when
do you
you're-
do it for every classroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
When
So
say
you go
that-
go into the class, click the gear, scroll down, and then under general settings in stream, only teachers. And again, we'll get to the whole grading thing later on with grading categories and stuff. I'll cover that at a later point. Let me show you how to add your students. Okay.
I have a question about the comments.
Yep, no, go ahead.
When you say that kids can post and comment, does that mean that they can post something new to the stream, or is that posting in that classroom assignment that you gave that shows up in the stream?
They can post something new to the stream.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
They can comment on anything in the stream, and they can post anything they want to the stream.
Okay.
So that's where just for maybe a general start for you all to get comfortable with the platform, it might be good for you to, now there is an option in between that you can have them just be able to comment.
Yeah.
That they can't post anything new, but they can comment on anything in the stream. So that you may play around with that a little bit and decide what you want to do with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions on anything I've done so far that you'd like me to do again or do slower, or are we okay so far?
Good.
Yes.
Okay. So now if you come up to the top, we're going to skip over classwork for a minute. We're going to go to people, because you want to be able to put people in your classroom. So you've got two different ways that you can do this. It's easier on you if your students know how to find Classroom, which is, again, it's really easy if you just tell them to, if you're going to write directions for your students, step 1 is to direct their browser to classroom.google.com. And if they go there, if they're logged into their school email through Chrome, which most of them are by default, if they direct their browser here, then all they have to do is click that plus sign in the upper right-hand corner and then join class, and you're going to give them the class code. So that's relying on your students to enroll themselves, which if you have 100+ students, instead of you listing all of them and signing them up, you could have them do this themselves. And I'll show you where to find the class code in just a minute. Your class code is right here. So see where it says class code under the title of the class? If you click that little square, it pops up nice and big. So if I wanted you to join this class, I would tell you to go to classroom.google.com, click on the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner, select join class, and then put in this class code, and this would enroll you in my class. I recommend not trying to do that right now yourself, because you're probably going to run into an error message because of my classroom not being on your domain. But if your students try to do this within your own school's domain, you should be fine. Now, the other way that you can do this, which is the longhand way for you, is to click on the little person next to students, and then you type in their email address, and it will give you an option down here to select. So if I click there, I can enter in multiples at the same time and then click invite, and it will send an invitation to their email inbox with basically with a link to click on this link to join this class. So that's kind of the longhand way to do it. But if you don't want to use Google Classroom for all of your classes, but you want to use it maybe for some of your music academic classes, then this, and you don't have a ton of students to enter, then this might be the easier way to do it. I haven't tried copy and pasting lists of email addresses yet in this. That may be a shorthand way to do it. You may be able to take, like, if you have your student emails in like an Excel spreadsheet, you might be able to copy and paste them all into this box, but I haven't tried that personally because I don't have a list of email addresses long enough to have to be able to do that with. But if you have access to that through your school student information system, you might be able to shortcut it that way.
Yeah, it does work. You just have to sort of go through and make sure that they're formatted correctly, because sometimes when you copy and paste a list, they sort of put spaces in funny places. So it acknowledges it as 2 addresses instead of 1, but it does work.
Got it. Thank you, Kaylee. So again, if you have lots of students to add, it might be more advantageous for you to direct them to classroom.google.com and give them the class code to put in themselves. And then you will see them appear in your under here where it says students. You'll see their names appear as they join your class. You can also add teacher collaborators. They can do everything that you can do. So if you're team teaching with somebody or you're co-teaching with somebody, you can add them on here. They can do everything that you can do, except they cannot delete the class. Only you can delete the class. So you don't have to worry about adding a collaborator that might accidentally delete everything that's in there. You retain exclusive control over deleting the class as the teacher. But your co-teacher can change settings and can restrict commenting stuff and all that. So they have co-moderator capacity. Is everybody clear on how to add students to your classroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, whenever you're in a classroom, like I'm in this dummy classroom right now. So let's say you've got a classroom set up and you're happy with it and you're ready to roll for now. You're not ready to assign work in it necessarily yet, but you've at least got it set up. You've got a welcome message. You maybe put something in there for your students to watch or look at or read or whatever. If you come over here to these 3 lines and click on classes, that will take you back out to your main screen, and then you'll see your class that you created. And you want to create another class, come up to the plus sign, create class. You go through the same process, give the class a name. You don't have to necessarily do all this. The only thing that's required is the class name. And it will take you right to that classroom as soon as it sets up. So here's my second class. You'll notice that it has a unique class code. Every class has a unique code. So your students won't get confused about which class to join, because you'll send them specific codes or you'll invite them personally. And all the functionality for this classroom is found over here in this settings tab. So here's again is where you can write a description of the class, put your class goals if you want, Here's where you can make all your changes here. Once you have your class, something I forgot to show you, once you have your class populated and you want to close it, if you click on the class code, you can click disable, and then that basically makes it so that nobody else can join the class. So if you have students that think it would be funny to have their friends join the class and you don't want to have to deal with all of that baloney, once you've used your once you've gone up to your people tab up here and you have sorted through and made sure that you have everybody that you're supposed to have, you can get rid of students that don't belong there, and then you can disable the class code so that it's essentially a closed class.
And where do you do that again? Sorry.
If you go to, so I'm in my classroom for this one.
Yep.
Come over to the settings gear.
The gear.
Yep, it's always the gear. For settings, it's always your gear.
Okay.
Come down here and then.
Okay. In general.
So that's where your class code is, and you'll notice the class code's changed just because there isn't anybody who's joined that class yet. It'll be a static code as soon as you start populating it. But you can have it displayed, or you can disable it. You can copy it, so you can copy and paste it into an email for your students if you want. You can reset it. So you have some options with what you can do with this class code. But I would say have your students enroll. Then once you're in the classroom and you see your students list start to populate, make sure that it's who's supposed to be in there. Whoever isn't supposed to be in there, you can easily, if you just come over to this side, there's a place that you can click on each person and you can remove them from the class. Once you have your class set the way you want, I would come over here and I would scroll down to general and I would disable the class code so that your class is closed to anybody who's not supposed to be there.
Okay.
You can always open it back up later, or you can still manually add people, by the way. If you come over here to students, you can still add people in.
Okay.
So let's say you have an administrator that wants to be in your class to see what's going on. You can add them as a teacher. You can add them as a student, whatever they're comfortable with. But you can always manually add people after you disable the class code.
And do you have to go back and change that disable, or you don't even have to?
You don't have to if you're going to manually add them.
Okay.
You should be all set to manually add them yourself because you have control over that. It's the class code is there if you're having your students sign themselves up.
Gotcha. Can I ask a question along that line?
Absolutely. I know some people have been putting some things in the chat box, so if you just want to, I'll pause for a second if you want to jump in with a question. Go ahead.
So say, because I teach 2 different grade levels, and if I wanted to change like the color, the background, like just to distinguish, just a visual difference between a quick look for my 6th grade and 7th grade? Absolutely.
So let's say, this dummy classroom is blue and this dummy classroom is pink, but let's say I both wanted them to be blue for some reason. So if I click on the one that's not blue, if you come over here to where it says select theme or upload photo, you can actually upload photo is a little tricky because it has to fit certain pixel parameters, and there are some photos, but I'm not going to take, with all due respect, I'm not going to take you through all the steps to customize that right now. But if you click on select theme, they have a lot of pre-populated themes already. So you can actually look by topic at the top if you want. So if I have, a world language class, I can click that and then it will change the theme for me. Okay. So that's a quick way that you can differentiate what your class looks like compared to others. And if you look at my other classes, the classrooms that I have for teachers, the dance one has dance shoes, and the theater has theater tickets, opera glasses, et cetera, et cetera. Gotcha. Visual Art has Paint. So they have a lot of options. You know, back when Classroom first started, there weren't a ton of options for themes. They were very, very limited, and they've expanded that out a lot. So yes, you can customize your theme within a class if you just come over here to select theme, and then you can go through. So you maybe you have a financial class, or you have a pet training class, or you have photographing fish. I don't know. You can come up with anything you want, right? So athletic themes, art, lots of arts themes. I like how, you know, coffee is related to arts. I love that. It's fantastic. Math and science. So they have lots of options, and you can scroll down through to pick the one that works for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is there any way, like if you're, like I have on my classroom set up and my students are in it and a lot of them have accepted it and got into it, but there are still several that have not. Is there any way that you can just put them in, or do they have to accept?
No, you can just put them in. If you go to people and you go here, well, actually, okay, so no, I understand what you're saying. It's going to send them an invite. They have to click on the invitation link.
They have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way you can force them into a classroom.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. I wish, trust me, at many times I wish that there was a way you could just force them into that. It would just make it a lot easier. But, and
So
I mean, everybody keep in mind too that the learning curve on this is super steep, even for those of us that have used Classroom in the past. The vast majority of our parents at home don't know how much of this works. So for us to have an expectation for them to be able to help their child or their children get enrolled in things like this, the learning curve is super steep for them as well. So this is just going to take time, and I realize that some of you are under the gun with your administrators to get up and rolling with this, but you know, it's dependent a lot on the cooperation that you're getting from students and parents at home. So
Right.
Kaylee's putting some really useful things in the group chat, by the way. So if you, in your Zoom window, if you click on the chat button at the bottom, you'll see that there's some good discussion going in there. In fact, yeah, she clarified that the cover photos for any Google things need to be 800 by 200 pixels to fit into that area. So that's awesome info, Kaylee. Thank you for throwing that out there.
I have a question. So
Fire away.
even if we choose to self-populate the classes ourselves by typing in our students' email addresses,
Yes.
that doesn't mean they're in the class.
Correct. It means they're invited to the class.
Okay.
That's how Google has set this up, so that it's there's consent on the student's part that they're in the class.
And we'll get some sort of notification when they accept.
Yes, they'll show up right here. See where it says invite students or give them this class code? Their name will appear there.
Okay.
And when you invite them, it will say invited, and their name will be gray on there. So if I invite here, I'll invite myself.
And if we choose to invite the students, then will Google generate instructions for how they accept that invitation?
Yes, it comes in an email to them, and it's basically as simple as click on the following link to join this class.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's pretty straightforward. So notice on my screen now, it says it has my email address, and then it says invited. That's what you'll see when you add people. Likewise, when it comes time to get rid of students, so if I end up being in this class and you click here, if you click the box at the top, it will select everybody at the same time. But since there's only one in this classroom, it's going to do that. If I come over to actions, I can email that specific student or students. So I can select from the whole list. If I want to send one reminder message to a number of students to remember to turn in an assignment, you don't have to necessarily send that to everybody. You could put it in the stream if you wanted and everybody would see it, but you could specifically send it to just a select number of students if you decide you want to do that. You can also click remove and it will get rid of whoever you've selected. So that's, again, a way that you can filter out your class from, if you have none of us have any students that would think about inviting their buddies to jump in and sabotage a class. I mean, that's unthinkable to me. But if it were to ever happen, this people tab is under students is where you can sort through that a little bit.
So if we go to that tab where it has all the kids, we can see if they accept it or not. If
Correct.
we have a long list. Okay.
Yep. See how my name is gray right now?
Right.
It'll be solid black when
Okay.
when I've accepted it.
Great.
Oh, so if it stays gray, they're not in the class, or they're not?
They've been invited. You see this little part down at the bottom in parentheses that says invited?
Yeah.
That means you've initiated the process with them. You have invited them to this class. They've received an email from Google that says, click on this link to join this class.
Oh, and then it's not until that turns black that they've done that.
Correct. If you go the other way, which again is the way that I encourage people to go, if you tell them to go to classroom.google.com, click on the plus sign in the upper corner. So if they come here, their screen will be blank unless they have other classes for other teachers. If they click on the plus sign, and instead of create class, which is what you did, they're going to click join class, and then they're going to put in the class code that you give them.
Yeah.
They click join, then it's a done deal. There's nothing more for you to have to do or for them to have to do. They're in the class.
Okay.
They can also, as an easier, if your school subscribes to the G Suite for Education, then they have the little cube box of apps. Jason, will you hover over your little cube box of apps? Yeah. So they will have a shortcut to Classroom there it is. And it will bring them right to the page if they're logged into their school account.
That is true. Good point, Kaylee. If they're logged into their Gmail, if they have a tab open for their school Gmail, then if they come over here to these 9 little dots, these Google apps, and click on it, they may have to scroll down, but in all that they have, all that your school makes available here, they'll have a Classroom button. And if they click on that, it will take them right to where they need to be. Then they click the plus sign, join class, put in the class code that you've given them, and then they're in. Then all they have to do is click join.
All right. So I typed all their names in. So that's how I put all the students into the classroom.
Okay. Which is totally fine. So you have a whole list down here under students where they're all. I want
to go back and double check and see if their names are gray or black.
Right. So all you have to do is when you're in the classroom, just click on people, and down here under students, it will say invited, or if it doesn't say invited, then they've clicked on the link and they're in the class. They can see what you post.
But it should be black.
It should be black. Yep.
Okay.
Or it won't have.
Seems like that. I remember a lot of gray, so now I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, let's face it, they are probably way underwater themselves with trying to adapt to this new exclusive environment.
Okay.
Or they're taking care of siblings, or who knows what number of issues could be standing in their way right now they may be trying to get enrolled in 10 different Google Classrooms for everybody.
Gotcha.
So, yep. But yeah, if it doesn't say invited under students.
I wonder if I should do a reminder. That's the other thing that's going in my mind. Or should I just let them chill for a minute?
I'd maybe give them just a little bit of extra leeway in this current situation.
Okay.
What I tend to do, so if given the luxury of being in a classroom with them, being in the same room at the same time with them, when I do this at the beginning of the year, I always tell them to go to Classroom, and then I just put that up on my screen, and I just have them sign up for it right then, and then there's just no question.
Sure.
But given this, we're inviting them remotely and expecting them to be enrolling in all of these Google Classrooms. That I think that's where leeway is going to be what's going to get us the most bang for our buck here, is being being reasonable in the amount of time that we give them to do stuff like this. So maybe even check in with them at the beginning of next week and just say, hey, I sent you an invite to join my Google Classroom. You know, it'd be great if you could do that.
Thank you. Yep.
You're welcome.
A question about students passing in assignments.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
got classrooms up and running, and I've created assignments, and I have had students, you know, log on and do some of them already. Is there any place in the Google Classroom where students can post the work, or does it automatically get sent to your email address? I am getting work turned in through my email, but I'm not finding a place where I can direct them to put it in the classroom instead.
That's a little advanced from where we are right now, but I totally absolutely understand that that's what you need right now. That all lives under this classwork tab, which I haven't even touched yet with everybody. Basically, the way Google Classroom works is it creates a folder for each of your classes in your Google Drive, and then within that folder, it creates a folder for each of your students. So basically, their work is going to live in their folder, and you're going to interact with them. You could do it through email. You can also do, so Google Classroom's made a couple changes too since last time I've used it. But let me talk about the classwork tab just a little bit. So Stream is where you can put things, and again, you can live there comfortably for now. But as soon as you get to a point where you decide you want to start doing some assignments and you want to be organizing the work that you're asking your students to do, is where you're going to need to migrate over to the classwork tab a little bit. And before we leave each other, I just want to make sure that I show you. Google's support page for Classroom has a bazillion different articles to walk you through all of these things. So it's not that I don't want to take the time to walk anybody through. I am happy to set up tons of sessions next week where we can go through all these different components. But just know that Google has spectacular support for using Classroom. So if you basically, let me go back to my Classroom for a second, because you can access it right through there. I think you can access it right through there. I think is it at the bottom? Yep. Down here in the lower left-hand corner is a question mark in a circle. If you click on that question mark, you can go right to the Help Center or the Help Community. Help Community is where people post questions and they get feedback from Google that are specific. So it's like a question and answer forum. If you go to the Help Center, you can either describe the issue that you're having, or if you scroll down, you're going to find lots and lots of step-by-step guidance on how to access a lot of these extra items. So for example, if you want to start grading assignments and giving feedback, if you look under that tab, here's where it'll walk you through setting up grading, how you can do categories for posts. You can view student work. You have a to-do page actually on your Classroom. Let me see if I can, if you come over here to your home tab, right, these three lines, and go to to-do, this is where it will list all the work that you've assigned that has been submitted and needs to be graded. So this is what you need to do. And if you click on reviewed, this is what you have reviewed. You can grade things in Classroom and return it to students, and then they can resubmit it. And you can actually do it all through the platform. But I recommend that you go to the Classroom Help Center, and that will give you lots of opportunity to read through step by step. I know that doesn't really address your question, Lynn, but at least it points you in the right direction, right? Okay, awesome. And again, I'll be happy to do some more specific sessions on these next week. I just wanted to basically show you how to get a classroom set up so that you can start feeling like you're engaging your students through a platform that probably your school is encouraging you to use.
Yep.
If they're trying to have you use Classroom Dojo or Schoology or any of those, I'm not as familiar with those. I'm not familiar with them at all, actually, but I would be happy to find somebody to help with those if that's something that will be of help to the cause.
Just got us started. It's great.
Okay, and that really was the goal. And frankly, if you come back at, what do I have, 2 o'clock? I think I have another one of these at 2. I'm going to go through similar setup, but if you've been playing around with it for the hours between now and then, and you have a specific question, we can start to jump around. I'm going to try to cover the same kind of information though, just to get people's feet underneath them with using Classroom, and just, like I said, at least getting people to use, to be able to establish a class and use the stream to get information out to students and to try to initiate some communication.
Well, it also told me that now I have to go see if my kids accepted the invite, even though I've sent 3 classrooms worth of classes set up. So
yeah,
that helped a lot.
Yep. And again, if you just come to that people tab, you'll see, as soon as they've accepted, you'll see that their status under students will change.
Then I can get the classroom teacher to encourage them to join my classroom.
Exactly. Exactly. Sure. Yep. You got it. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute, or for good, I guess, for this. And in the chat box, I'm going to put the Google form link for you to get your certificate for this session. Give me just a second to find that.
And we just have to click on it?
Yeah, if you just click on the link, it will take you to a form. We're collecting some data from the field about where you teach, what county you teach in, so you can click the appropriate radio button. Just giving us some feedback of about whether the training was worth your time or not. What your district's approach to learning is with the school closure, so whether you're going completely online or whether you're not doing anything or there's a whole span in between. We want to know how you're handling the school closure as a teacher, so that's a kind of a personal reaction. And then if you have a topic for a future PD session, you can put that in there, but that's not a required question. And then just in order to get your certificate, you just have to click at the bottom where it says, did you complete the training? You just click yes, and then submit, and it should email your certificate right to you.
Awesome.
Okay, so let me stick that in the chat box here just a second. Okay, I just sent that out to everybody. Yeah, thanks, Kaylee, for having that extra stuff thrown in there.
Did you record this?
I did record this, yes.
Okay.
So, and this will be available. So if you go to YouTube, the Department of Education has a YouTube channel. And I just put, it's called Maine DOE Com. And so if you go to YouTube and you search Maine DOE Com, that's the official Department of Education Communications YouTube channel. And as soon as the video is, I stick it into a folder and it gets uploaded. But I know they're backed up right now with trying to upload lots and lots of video. So once it is available, it'll be up there.
Awesome.
And I'm going to record each of these sessions today because we may come up with different solutions to things for everybody. And I am available. Like I said, I'm gonna create some additional sessions for next week and the week after to try to go a little bit deeper into this for some of you so that you can feel a little more established with it. But I do encourage you again to go to, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I do encourage you to go to, once you're in Classroom, scroll all the way down to the bottom of your screen and click on that little question mark, and then go to the Help Center.
Okay, great.
And that really is where you're going to find lots and lots of fantastic, well-written, to the point instructions and guidance on all of this.
Great.
All the extra little features. So I encourage you to go explore it a little bit.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Linda. Hi, how are you?
You guys are awesome. And I'll be having more office hours next week too, so we can all get together and party.
We need to have a Zoom meeting just to have fun and talk to people.
We can do that too. We can do that too. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks.
Come on back at 2 o'clock if you want to join in on another session, okay?
See you at 12
Thank
about
you,
Zoom.
I was going to
Thank
say
you,
I'll be doing
Kaylee.
Zoom at noon. So, all right, we'll see you then.
Bye. Bye, Mary.
Goodbye, Linda.